Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about breathing. So, there's some new studies coming out with COVID about prone breathing being very helpful for people who are suffering in that regard. And there's a lot to be said about back body breathing in the yoga realms. But first, before I get into that, I just want to talk briefly about nitric oxide, which I've talked about in here before, but I'll just mention it again because it's worth mentioning. So, when we are mouth breathers, we miss out on a whole lot of goodness in our breath. And it's very common for us to breathe through. It's very common. It's a very common breath pattern for people to breathe through their mouth instead of through their nose. I don't know how we got to being that way, but it's not our natural way. We should really be nose breathers as much as possible. And of course, we have two ways of breathing, thank goodness. So you can breathe through your mouth or your nose so that when we can't use our nose, we have our mouth. And a lot of times when we're talking, we breathe through our mouth as well. But nose breathing, there's a few great things that happen when we breathe through our nose. First of all, it puts a very appropriate amount of pressure on the diaphragm. So it helps the diaphragm not be lazy and work, which is the primary muscle that we want working for our breath. So it's a really important part of connecting the diaphragm movements. And then also when we breathe through our nose, the breath has to travel into our sinuses and swirl around in all the chambers of our sinuses before going down into our trachea. And what the goodness of this is that there's nitric oxide, which is not nitrous oxide, different. It's not, like sucking in the balloon at a Grateful Dead concert and laughing your head off for 1 minute while your head explodes, right? So if anybody's ever done that, don't do that. It's not good for you. But nitric oxide is a really good thing for your breath. So when you swirl around in the turbinates and the sinuses, nitric oxide attaches onto the breath. And it's a bronchodilator. So when you get down into the lung fields, it helps you open your airways up, which of course is what we want. It's also very protective for, there's a sterilization that happens with nitric oxide. It's very protective against microbes of all kinds. So of course we want that. So big, deep breath, get big, clean breath, which is both really good things that happen when we breathe through our nose instead of our mouth. So, it's not just about slowing the breath down, which also happens when we breathe through our nose. It's that pressure gradient on the diaphragm is much more profound. So it forces our diaphragm to work. Now, a lazy diaphragm causes us to breathe with these muscles up in our neck and our traps and our scalene muscles. So this kind of breath, up here where we've all done it and we see people do it all the time, but it lends itself not only to a lot of exhaustion and tension in our neck and shoulders, but we end up being very top breathing where we only access the upper chambers of our lung fields when we have we have so much, right, in our lung fields to access. So it's really important. And then when it comes to prone breathing, so besides just breathing through your nose, prone breathing is this capacity to lay on your belly, on your front side, and let the back body breathe. So much of the time we're focused on the front of our chest, maybe our ribs. This is where we kind of breathe into instead of really feeling the back of our bodies. So our practice today is going to be a back body practice. We're going to just feel the back of our body, try to get in touch with what the back of our body, have eyes in the backs of our heads kind of thing, and sense the parts of our body that we can't feel very well. So the place between your shoulder blades, for instance, is very difficult to access because we can't see it, or it's hard to even touch. When you reach back there, it's hard to even touch your skin on that part of your body. So we're going to do a practice including some deep breath work, but really trying to access the back of us so that we utilize our lung fields to their greatest capacity. So you got to remember you have lungs way back here in the bottom back of your rib cage. Okay, so let's sit up straight and tall. Close your eyes for a moment. The last thing I wanted to say about nitric oxide is that not only is it protective from a microbial standpoint and a bronchodilator, But it's also, when you breathe through your nose, you coat the breath in mucus, which is also very good for your body. It's not a dry breath as much as a mouth breath can be. So all these things are really good for keeping our insides healthy. All right, so close your eyes, sit up straight and tall, and let go of any tension that you feel. So first, let's start by dropping away the shoulders, let them go. So if you tend to be a top breather where your neck and shoulders are your primary movers, do what you can right now to release and relax them. And come into a state of opening the chest. Stretch the collarbones a little bit wider. Feel the shoulder blades slide down the back. Soften through your face. Letting go. Finding any spaciousness that you can across your forehead, your skull, your eyes. Prepare your skull, your face bones to soften your sinuses. And then once you have all these places feeling a little bit more open and free, start to pay attention to your breath. Breathe through your nose if you can. And see if you can notice the swirling of breath traveling into the chambers of your sinuses. Think of, if you've ever been in a cave and there's all sorts of different chambers to a cave that you can walk into. Imagine that with your sinuses. There's all these little caverns, lots of swirly spaces for the breath to have surface area with contact with this nitric oxide. And let's marvel at our mystery, at how beautifully we are made, that we have something as simple as nitric oxide in our sinuses that purifies our breath on the way in. That is a bronchodilator that helps us open our lung fields. Before we even get the breath down there, we already have something riding on the breath to help us open. So see if you can travel the breath, watch it, observe. Notice how it goes through your nose, into your sinuses, down your trachea, bifurcating into your bronchi, like a tree branching off, smaller and smaller branches into your lungs. And let's also marvel at this giant, beautiful muscle that your diaphragm is. Feel this dome in the bottom. If you're an upside down tree, if your lungs are upside down trees, and your sinuses are the roots where we're drinking the nitric oxide into the branches, the diaphragm is like the sky, right? Above the branches of the tree, the big sky. So drop the big sky toward the pelvis. Broaden, make it a big blue sky. Lots of, when you get up above the treetops, that spaciousness, broadness. Imagine your diaphragm has all this room. And in particular, start to sense, and always remember, if you're not comfortable, if your body's distracting you, stand up, lay down, do something different. If you are able, start to notice all of this happening in the back of your body. See if you can touch the trees in the backside of the forest. See if you can notice the diaphragm touching the attachments. See if you can sense the attachments of your diaphragm in the back of the rib cage. Can you feel not only that your chest rises and falls, but that the sides of your ribs and the back of your ribs rise and fall as well? Big dome drop of the diaphragm, lots of room, cylinder of room. So as your diaphragm drops down, widen your transverse abdominis around the, the corset muscle that wraps around your torso from your ribs to your pelvis. Broaden it out. Let that become the blue sky too on the inhale. And on the exhale, have a little bit more force, just a little bit of more movement inward. Feel the diaphragm draw in and up, the transverse abdominis corset around your spine just a bit. Still back body breathing, still low body breathing, soft neck and shoulders, breathing through the nose, feeling the turbulence in your sinuses. Bring yourself into the full big picture breath. We've kind of isolated little tiny things. Now see if you can bring yourself into the forest, drinking the soil, traveling through the roots into the branches of your trees, big blue sky. And then back down through the branches, back out. So the trees stand upright and our trees stand upside down. And we have this inverse relationship with trees anyway when it comes to oxygen exchange, carbon dioxide exchange. So let's be that reflection to the actual trees. So as you look at a tree, you feel the reflection in your own body of that upside down tree, like looking at the tree reflection over still waters. And feel your connection to the living breath outside of you, the pranic flow. There we become part of as we breathe, connecting us to not just the trees, but all of nature, all of the universe. This is big, right? So it's not just lip service. This is true. This is a true thing about prana, that our energy, our breath connects us to all things. Place your palms at your heart and offer an intention. What do you have here today to work with? What is breath helping you with? And let's release the hands. We're going to come on to our back. All right, so lie down and get a sense now that everything's different when you're horizontal versus when you're vertical. Notice the lungs spread out in a different way. Notice the back body on the floor. And then let's begin to stretch. So reach your arms. Let's start to awaken the body. The right side gets longer, the left side gets longer. Going back and forth, opening up the rims of you. All right, and then knees into the chest and rock. Just feel into the pelvis, the sacrum, the backside of the body rocking on the floor. And then let's take our knees away from each other and take our knees in. Also notice the movement of the pelvis when you do this. Perhaps there's a little anterior and posterior rocking of the pelvis. Maybe there's not. Maybe you're very still. Big deep breath. All right, right knee into the chest, left leg long on the floor. Swivel around your ankles, squeeze in your knee. Try as best as you can. I know there's a lot to think about with breathing, and we're not used to having to think about it. Thank goodness we don't have to think about it in order to breathe. But when you bring the light to shine on your breath and into consciousness, switch legs, try your best in your practice today to focus on, at the very least, breathing through your nose, trying to have access to the breath, even if it's uncomfortable. Like most things, when we learn new skill in our body, it's uncomfortable. You know, if you stand on a non-dominant side, it's a little uncomfortable. Okay, let's starfish ourselves out. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, take a deep breath out. Let's feel the center of the body radiate from the navel outward. See if you can, on this third pass, notice the diaphragm. The bottom ribs flaring. Exhale, letting the core help you squeeze the breath out. And then relax, put your head down. And let's roll over onto our side and come up onto our hands and our knees. All right, let's start moving through some cat-cows. Arching and rounding the spine, taking your time, noticing the ways in which your spine easily moves, noticing the ways where maybe it doesn't easily move. And after a few rounds of just feeling the slow, steady breath on the spinal movements, start to move things around any way you want to move. So, don't forget you have a pelvis and a head that attaches onto your spine. So feel those connection points. All right, and then we're going to come to a flat back for a moment. And I want you to push the floor away. Try to do this in a yielding way instead of a forceful way. So yield into the earth and round the spine up. And just notice the broadness. Relax the head down. Separate the shoulder blades, lift the spine up toward the sky, and notice the broadness, the roundness in the back of the rib cage. And then just the opposite, melt your heart toward the floor. Be very mindful to not lock your shoulders, to have some yielding going on, and bring the shoulder blades really close to the spine. Maybe pick up your head. And just go back and forth. Feeling, the very isolation of the shoulder blades and the spine, the rounding and bending of the spine, and how a back bend feels in your body and how a rounded bend feels in the body. All right, and then stretch back towards child's pose. Take your knees close or wide, and notice if you take your knees wider, perhaps your diaphragm has a little bit more room to breathe. Remember that big blue sky? We're trying to make our belly big blue sky on our in-breaths. Find your inhale, walk the hands over to the left side of the mat. Open up the intercostals. There's a lot of muscles that get involved in your breath. A lot of muscles that get involved in your breath. The diaphragm is the leader, it's the engine, but you have all these little trains that follow, these little cars that follow. So feel the muscles in between your ribs stretch and open. On the inhale, feel them draw closed on the exhale. Walk the hands over to the other side. Feel the left side body open and stretch. Make sure you're keeping your neck neutral. Deep breath in, deep breath away. And then come back, come up onto all fours. Lift the right arm in the sky. Slide that shoulder down. Let's hang out here for a little bit. Feel the shoulder blades broaden apart from each other. Notice the back side of the heart. See if you can feel literally the back side of your heart deep inside your body. Open that up, broaden the back of the heart. A lot of your main blood vessels travel, your descending aorta travels behind your heart. It comes up out of the top of your heart and then, dives back down behind the heart to travel to the lower body. So make room for your descending aorta. Try not to trap the shoulder blades against the heart. Open it up. Okay. All right, and then inhale, reach that arm all the way to the sky. Place the hand down onto the ground, second side. Slide that shoulder down and through. What does it feel like to breathe slowly through your nose here? Can you feel the back of the lungs open? Can you feel the back of the heart open? Lots of space. All right, and then inhale and lift that arm all the way up to the sky. Place the hand down, dog pose. Lengthen, pedal, any kind of movement you want to do. Still breathing through the nose. Find that steadiness of inhaling and exhaling as you move the body around. Waking up the legs in any fashion that feels good.
waking up the shoulders, the spine in any way that feels good. Now, the inhales are important to do through the nose, but the exhales, not as much. So if you want to breathe out through your mouth sometimes a big sigh out through the mouth can be very soothing to the nervous system. Sometimes breathing out through the nose can be better. So experiment breath by breath what your body's craving and exhale through mouth or nose, but try to keep the inhales moving through the nose. Walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. What does the back body feel like here? Bend your knees so that you have enough softness and give. Feel how the inhale, it naturally impulses you away from your, you radiate away from your center. And your exhales naturally impulse you toward that, curling in. Feel the back of the rib cage, bobble the head around. Inhale for a halfway lift, stretching the spine longer. Exhale and melt back down. Rise up, push off your feet, lifting your arms to the sky. If you're dizzy, take a pause. Open the chest up, spread open your wings. Exhale and round in. Tuck your chin toward your chest. Press your hands toward each other. Feel the center line of the body. Deep breath in. Deep breath away. Have a moment of yielding. Breath and yielding go together. Feel your roots. Feel your diaphragm drop into your roots. Feel the balance of your spine over your pelvis. Feel the softness of your joints. Start to notice your breath here. Feel the back body breathe. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, cactus your arms open. Open the front of the chest. And then exhale, round, open the back of the chest. Interlace your fingers. Pull your hands away from you and round the back body. Take your feet hip-width apart, and we're going to roll through this from front to back. Keeping the back just a little bit rounded, not really rounded, but just a little bit rounded. Fist your hands and just go back and forth. We're opening the spine up. I know this is weird. I love that you guys just always go our game and go along for the ride no matter what I throw at you. All right, and then come back and now move this into what we often do. Just simple opening of the rib cage, the spinal movements of twisting. Notice if it's hard to breathe when you're moving. How is the diaphragm moving as you breathe? How is the diaphragm moving as you do this movement? All right, and then arms up to the sky. Press your palms. Take a deep breath, side bend over. Open the side of the ribs. Now our hands are pressing out, and we're going to roll forward again, over to the other side. Roll. Inhale, up. Exhale, roll. Inhale, up. Exhale, roll. Inhale, up. All right, cactus the arms all the way down. Interlace your hands behind your back. Open the chest, collarbones broad. Bend your knees, let the shoulders open. Feel the tail and wag it around. Feel the head and bobble it around. Breathe as deeply as you can. And release the hands down to the ground. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt. Step your left foot back, right foot forward. Come into a lunge. Lengthen through your spine. Start to feel that your body's warming a little bit. Start moving. Moving back and forth. Pay attention to how you are breathing. Can you feel the back body? And then pause here. You can always walk your back foot in some if you need a shorter stance. You can always put the blocks higher if you need more height. Bow the head. Breathe into, it's okay to have a little teeny bit of a round in your spine. Don't over round, but a little bit of a round. Breathe into the very bottom back rib cage. All Okay, come back into a lunge. Walk your back foot forward. Halfway lift. Spine gets longer. Sit bones high. Exhale and melt back down. Step your other foot back. Left foot forward. Right foot back. Come to a lunge. Start moving here. The legs square up. The head bows in. Feel a sense of movement on the breath. Breathe through your nose. Out however you want. Experiment. See what it feels like to breathe out through your nose. See what it feels like to breathe out through your mouth. Doesn't matter what kind of movement you're doing, just keep breathing. Straighten out both your legs. If you need more height, you can bring height underneath your hands. All right, so however you want to be, square hips, widen the sit bones, inner spiral, lengthen the spine, and then bow just a little bit. Let the back body round just a bit. Feel the very bottom back ribs expand on the breath. All right, and then we'll go ahead and walk your back foot forward. These muscles behind your back in the low, right in through here in the bottom of your rib cage is your posterior serratus muscle, serratus posterior. And they have to actually engage for our inhale, because if you think about it, with the ribs, in order for them to flare open, the back of the ribs have to actually compress toward each other. The muscles have to draw in toward each other for the ribs to flare out like my arms are, like this, flaring out. So we're going to work a little bit with this. Take a deep breath in, reach the arms up. Exhale and fold. Inhale. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step back to a plank, whole body pose. Can you feel the back body breathe here? Notice the prone. You're prone, you're facing the ground. What changed in your diaphragm when you're in a position like this? Put your knees down onto the ground, come all the way to the floor. Take a cobra, just gentle. Open up the body. Feel your legs, feel your pelvis, come down. Okay. One more time, just warming up into a back bend. And then exhale and come back down. Before we do a little bit of efforting here, put your head on your hands. Feel free to put a blanket underneath your pelvis. We're going to be here for just a moment. So if you have trouble lying on your belly, sometimes a bolster or a blanket under your pelvis can make all the difference for your lumbar spine. But I just want you to feel, and you can put your head down and turn your head. So either way, whatever feels good, I want you to feel the back body breathe. What happens when you are breathing when you're on your belly versus breathing when you are on your back? What are you sensing? Just explore. If you want to turn your head toward the screen, this is what I mean. If you have a bolster or a blanket and you put it underneath your pelvis like this, if you have trouble lying on your belly, this is a great way to practice some prone breathing so that it's just right under your pelvis, not under your chest, under your pelvis, so that you have a little bit more ease. So that's a good way if you're planning on staying for a few minutes to prone breathe and you're not happy, that might make you happy. Okay, if your head's turned, turn it the other way. Feel the back body breathe. There's no rules, just noticing. Breathing through, that is a rule. Breathe through your nose. That's the rule for today. If you can, breathe through your nose. Big blue sky diaphragm. Feel the diaphragm in the back of the body. Do you feel your spine change shape as you inhale and exhale? What does your chest feel like having to meet the floor to breathe? Now, obviously, if you're going to practice some prone breathing, usually it's not a good idea if you've just guzzled a whole bunch of water or if you've just eaten a bunch of food. You want to practice prone breathing, kind of, you don't have to have an empty stomach, but it's more comfortable if you're not full. Can you feel your belly meet the floor as you breathe. Can you feel the change of shape in your pelvis as you breathe? Do you have more access to the back bottom ribs, prone than supine? Are you able to relax the neck and shoulders and not use them for your breath a little bit more, prone versus sitting up? Sometimes being on our belly like this accesses the diaphragm a little bit better. Come up and out of that pose. We've been there a while, so if you need some nourishment, which I'm sure you do, swirl around through your body. Just let your spine find its way. And then eventually find your way to dog pose. Lengthen through the spine, deepen your breath. Still feel that prone breath as best as you can. You don't have the feedback of the floor any longer, but you still have this wide open space. The back body has lots of room for breath. All right, walk your feet forward, come into Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up. We've been down for the count for a while, so if you're dizzy, give a good squeeze. We're gonna come into a lunge when you're ready. So right foot comes forward, left foot is going to come back. A full lunge, crescent lunge. And we're just going to do some chest presses with this. So as you exhale, you can experiment with how you want to breathe. Try pushing an imaginary wall away. Inhale, pull it back. Now I'm breathing out through my mouth, but maybe you want to breathe out through your nose. Just see what kind of core strength you can get while you're pushing an imaginary something away. Feel those muscles in the back of the body engage as you hug the shoulder blades toward each other. Arms up, reaching to the sky, lengthening. Exhale, walk your back foot forward. Inhale for a halfway lift, step your other foot back. Come to a lunge. Reach up, crescent lunge, reaching the arms to the sky. Cactus the arms. Notice, try not to overdo the lumbar curve when you do this. Feel the chest open. And then we're going to go back and forth. Try, I'll turn sideways so you can see what I'm talking about. Try really hard to not be here in the back, in the lumbar spine, and just kind of moving. We want to be stable through the middle of our body and let the torso round and the chest open instead of it turning into a lumbar spine back bend like this, okay? A couple more times. And then arms coming up to the sky. Find your breath. Exhale, dog pose. Bring your hands down onto the ground. Step on back. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Come forward into a plank. Find your stability. Feel your exhales. Put your body down however safely you want to go. When we come into Cobra, no hands. So very low. Before you do this, slide your elbows down toward the pelvis a little bit more. Engage your legs, your core, your glutes, and then lift up and see if you can not only squeeze the rhomboids, the shoulder blades toward each other, but find the very bottom tip of the shoulder blades and draw them down like a V toward the spine. Feel those little muscles below your shoulder blades kick in, and then exhale and melt. Relax for a moment. We're going to find them one more time. So make your bottom tips of your shoulder blades, turn them into the top tips of a letter V. The bottom of your letter V is your spine. Okay, so find that little angle there. Take a deep breath and flex there. Try to squeeze your V. Breathe deeply. Back of the neck stays long. Stay. Let it release a little bit on your exhale. Find it on your inhale. All right, and then relax and melt down. Pick up your feet,
rocking to and fro. And then come up. Child's pose, all fours, dog pose. What feels good in your body? Everybody's different. Some people can't go right to a deep forward fold after a back bend. So you do you. Eventually finding your way up to dog pose. Feel the shoulder blades hug onto the back. You don't have to bring your V into it right now, but just sense it. And sense the movement of the breath in the back body. What muscles are flaring your ribs out? All right, let's walk our feet forward. Come into Uttanasana. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step your left foot back. Right foot comes forward. Shorten up your stance and come on up. Okay. This time we're going to do some lat pulls. So reach your arms up. Exhale. Imagine you're pulling yourself up on a chin-up bar. But the difference is, you know, when the chin-up bar, you get to your chin and you stop. What I want you to do is go all the way down. Bring your elbows toward your ribs and then slightly back. Once again, trying not to overarch the lumbar spine. You're keeping your pelvis stable. Reaching the arms up. Squeeze the muscles in the back of the body. Now we'll hold them there. See what it feels like to have a V with your elbows now. And breathe while holding. Okay, inhale. Reach the arms up. Take your other foot forward. So now our right foot is forward, our left foot is back. Exhale and find the same thing. We're going to come forward. Find your breath. Reaching the arms to the sky one more time. Exhale, step your back foot or your front foot all the way back. Come into a plank. Hold steady here. Find your breath. See what it feels like to push the floor away and melt the shoulder blades toward each other. So you're balancing the shoulder blades on the ribs. Now still move the rib cage. Even though our shoulder blades are firm, feel the back and bottom ribs move with the breath. Come all the way back to dog pose. Find your breath here. Inhale, lift your right leg up in the air. Exhale and swing that foot forward. Come into a lunge. Find your breath. Reaching up, crescent lunge. Exhale, press forward. We're going to twist while we're here. Press off to the side. And then see where you want to go. Do you want to put the elbow on the knee, palms? Do you want to keep a hand on your knee? Do you want to put both hands on your knee? Do you want a hand on a block? So find the twist that's right. See if you can make this happen in the back of the body. Of course, your obliques are working. Your back thigh is lifting. Find the twist. Can you make the V? Shoulder blades to spine. Okay, unwind. Reaching the arms up. Exhale. Arms back. One more time. Place your hands down. Lift up onto that one foot. Extend through the spine here. Exhale and round the spine. Tuck knee behind knee. Feel the back body round. Tuck the chin toward the chest. Take a breath here. Inhale. Stretch the legs straight. Place the foot down next to the other side. Halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Step your foot back. Lunge on the left. Inhale. Come up to crescent lunge. Arms lengthening. How's the inhale coming through your nose? And then when you're ready, press forward. We're going to twist here. Might feel weird. What's holding you here? Find your legs and then find your twist. So maybe you go deeper and your elbow is to the outer knee. Maybe you go less deep and your hand is on the floor. There's so many ways to experience the twist. Your back knee can come down on the ground like I just naturally did. Whatever works for you. If your back thigh is up off the floor, keep lifting it. Find the breath. Find the V. All right, inhale, reaching the arms to the sky. Exhale, press. One more time. Press. Hands down onto the ground, halfway lift. Half splits rather. Lift that leg up. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, round in, tuck knee behind knee, squat. Feel the back body round just a little bit. Widen the rib cage. Breathe into the back. All right, and then push off your foot. Stretch that leg. Place your foot down, hands down, three-legged dog. Lift that left leg up in the air. Are you still breathing through your nose? Inhale, come forward into a plank. Exhale and lower yourself down safely. Prone breathing again. Can you feel your heartbeat when you're on your belly? Is it easier to access a little bit more of the inner body? How do your lungs feel? Can you lift them into the back rib cage? Do you feel how your spine changes shape as you breathe? Okay, let's bring our arms back to our cactus. This time, shoulders move away from the ears, palms over. Inhale, lift up. You don't have to worry about your V. Just find the full back strength of all the muscles in the back of the body. Support yourself with your core. Lift your legs up too. Deep breaths, push-ups for your diaphragm. Exhale and melt. Turn your head the other way. Pick up your feet. If this is a lot to be on your belly, we're staying on your belly a lot longer than we normally do. So if you need that support, take that support. Okay, now we're gonna do full locust pose. Interlace your fingers behind your back. If you tend to roll the heads of the arm bones, see what you can do to lift them. If it's hard to lift them, unwind your hands and just have your arms back, palms facing the floor, so the heads of the arm bones can lift. Take a deep breath in, lift the legs. Legs can be close to each other or far. Back of the neck is long, stable through your glutes, your core, your pelvis. Breathe your big blue sky diaphragm. Make your diaphragm as big and broad as you can on your inhales and on your exhales. Feel the full 360 of your diaphragm move. Feel the work in the back of the body. All right, and then exhale and melt. Pick up your feet, turn your head, windshield wiper your knees. Come up onto all fours. And you decide, do you want to come back to child's pose? Do you want to stay on all fours? Do you want to stand up? You know, what's going to make you feel a little bit more neutral after being prone for a while? Okay. And then eventually we're all going to come up to stand. So get there however you want to get there. You can go back through dog pose and bring your feet forward. However you get up onto your feet, let's notice. Sometimes after doing some bound prone work like this, you know, your diaphragm can have a unique sensation to it, like you can actually feel the muscle of your diaphragm. So how do you make big blue sky now? Can you relax the diaphragm? There's nothing for it to push against in all planes, so let it expand. Can you feel the back body breathe? Are you breathing through your nose? Are you yielding? On your next inhale, lift your arms up. Take a breath. Cactus the arms open. Exhale and round in. Reach the arms up again. We're going to turn to the side edge of your mat and take your feet wide. Okay. Turn your feet out just a little bit. And we're just gonna go back and forth. We did this, I think we did that, I don't know, I did this in some class this week, but a little bit differently. We're going to go from left to right, and you can decide how deep you wanna go. You know, you can go very deep or just a little bit deep. But I want you to get the arms stretched out, back up, the arms stretched out. So the same action of moving the torso, the rib cage, stabilizing the low back, and squatting. Maybe one side is a little bit deeper than the other. If you find that to be true, if you have one knee that's a little, difficult, back away until you're matching the difficult side. All right, and then come into a neutral goddess pose. You can have your arms out like I'm doing. You can have your hands together. You can have your arms up. So whatever feels good, spin your jar lids of your feet. So your left foot is going counterclockwise, your right foot's going clockwise. Find your breath. No matter what you're doing with your arms, find the full diaphragm. Find the back of the body. Notice if you're wanting to lift your shoulders, if you're wanting to recruit the upper muscles for breath. Let the breath travel all the way up to the top lung fields, filling up to the collarbones, trying to relax those accessory muscles. Okay, and then straighten the last little kind of pumping action we're going to do with the breath. And if you're dizzy, you get to stop here and just fold into like Uttanasana. But if you have a little bit more left before we kind of start cooling down, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing with this pumping action, but now we're going to go up and down through goddess poses. So inhale, legs straight, arms straight. Exhale. So I like to breathe out through my mouth when I'm doing this. You do you. As long as you're breathing in through your nose, it doesn't really matter. And you don't have to go super deep. You can go as deep as you want. Even weight in your feet. Feel the V. Feel the diaphragm. Feel the core. All right, enough billows. Turn your feet straight. Come down and rest. Notice if you're dizzy, that's a lot of deep breathing. If you go fast, it can feel like hyperventilation. So let your body rest. Melting diaphragm, soft diaphragm. Relax the base of your skull. How's your breath here? Can you feel the back body breathe? You're prone a little bit. You're kind of inverting and prone. All right, let's come back to all fours. So even if you are not comfortable lying on your belly, you can do prone breath just like this. Notice how easy it is to relax the belly. Well, maybe it's not. For a lot of people, just any bit of relaxing the belly is hard. But this is probably a good place to practice because gravity can help. Can you let your belly go? Can you let your diaphragm follow? Can you feel the back ribs expand on your inhale? And then come down to child's pose. Also a prone breath. Knees close, knees far to side. Notice whenever you change positions, the subtleties of the change of the breath. Are you still breathing through your nose? Feel this all the way down to the pelvis. The backside of your sacrum moves. Neck and shoulders relaxed and peaceful.
Okay, we're gonna come lie on our side for a moment. You can support your head with a blanket or a block if you want to. Find your breath. Turn yourself into straight lines. So your knees are directly out from your hips, your shins are directly out from your knees, your palms are directly out from your shoulders. Take a deep breath in, open up. I don't like the block when I do this part. And then exhale and close the book. Twice more. Inhale. Exhale. Feel the chest stretch, the ribs move. Open yourself up for good breath. Now we're going to roll right over onto our other side. Knees, shins, everything's at right angles. Support your head if you want. And then as you're ready, we're opening up. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Close things up. Inhale. Exhale. Your breath pace, not my breath pace. Let's do one more. All right, let's come onto your back. Bring your knees to your chest, rock around. And then relax. So feet are on the ground. Obviously, you can do all sorts of back bending poses to open up the front of the chest, which is awesome. We're just going to do a very subtle variation of it. So grab onto your elbows with your hands and stretch your arms overhead. Now, if your arms don't come all the way to the floor, you can take a block behind your head to rest your forearms on. Okay, so whatever, depending on your shoulder flexibility, you may not be able to go all the way. Now, sometimes we do this with a blanket roll underneath our chest. And I'm purposely not doing that just because we're focused on the back body today instead of opening the front of the rib cage. But this is a little counterbalance to all the work we've done. Feel the front of the chest. Notice what's different here. And feel free to change your arms at any time. Flip the other way. All right, and then let's go ahead and release the arms down at your sides. Put your right foot on your left knee and reach into reverse pigeon pose. Feel free to rock a little bit left and right. Feel free to be still. Feel free to put your foot on furniture so your chest can still be nice and open and free. All right, put your feet down. Let's put our left foot on top of our right knee and reach and grab this side. Once again, you can put your right foot on a piece of furniture so you don't have to use your arms. Feel free to rock, feel free to be still. How is this side different? Are you still breathing through your nose? Visualize all this nitric oxide coating the breath, purifying the breath. It's like your own internal air purifier. Visualize the nitric oxide being this magical bronchodilator, opening up your lungs. All right, let's go ahead and come down. Support yourself however you need. So if you want to put your calves up on a couch or a blanket underneath your knees, however you want to be. And if you're going to practice some prone breathing at all, experiment with trying to put the pelvis up on a bolster or a pillow or two. But for right now, you might want to stay on your back instead of going prone and just feel yourself move to Shavasana. So if you are not comfortable for whatever reason, make an adjustment. Something needs to change. If you can't rest your body fully. Before you drift deep, breathe deep. Slow and steady inhale. Watch the whole thing. Observe the whole breath everywhere. Big forest, not just the tree. Feel the slight pause at the bottom of the exhale. Allow yourself to drop into that space. Don't forget to breathe again. Melt the face, melt the sinuses. Melt the limbs. Let's begin to deepen. Breath again. Start to move your body in little bits at a time. Stretching your fingers, your toes. Maybe you want to reach your arms overhead and take a big giant stretch. Bring your knees into your chest. Hug yourself. Give yourself a good squeeze. And let's find yourself moving onto your side. Lift yourself upright. Place your palms at your heart and offer your practice in and out.
Give yourself over to the breath. Let the exhales be for someone else. Just ride out some energy, some prayers, some intentions. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.